check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcast. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcast to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Along with Jonathan Hood, I'm Jeff Rickard here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app. Happy to have you along. Jay Hood, it's been at least a couple of weeks since we've seen each other.
That's exactly right. We got plenty to talk about before we are done tonight. 3 hours of fun with Jeff Rickard. You know what? That's my kind of thing when it comes to Hanukkah Wednesday, spending time with you.
It's trending. Hanukkah,
Oh, yeah.
Hanukkah, fun with Jeff Rickard. It's all over the internet right now. You can't get away from that. Hey, happy to have you all along today. We're going to be looking forward to speaking with all of you as we move along today at 888-729-3776. ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance, and we've got lots of great guests for you today. They'll all appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So, Jonathan, let's get right to it. Little NBA. I know you and I are both big-time NBA hoop heads. And last night, you had the Lakers and the Knicks. And granted, it was not Showtime versus, I don't know, pick any iteration of the last 3 decades that you want to choose from the Knicks. But people were paying attention. It was a Tuesday night. TVs were on. People were looking at it. And it still doesn't quite deliver, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's not the same. But here's the thing that I can take solace in. What I saw, Jeff, last night is just you're seeing young teams develop. All right, it's a 10-16 team against a 14-13 team. But what I take out of it, because it's the NBA, is that you're looking forward to seeing what the next big thing is. That's what sports is for me, is that we know who the established stars are. But who are the stars of tomorrow? And watching the Lakers and the Knicks, I saw a lot of stars for tomorrow. I enjoyed watching what the Lakers could be and what the Knicks could be.
Well, of course, the backdrop last night, you have Porzingis, who's young and upcoming, and then you got the rookie LaVar Ball. And, you know, he's in the news for all the wrong reasons, mostly because of his dad. And he's been... Look, LaVar Ball and his sons, I guess, 2 are off to Lithuania now. So we're looking at our guy last night who's just trying to get his groove on and play point guard. And here's his dad, LaVar, who's just always going. And it has something to do with something all the time. He's one of those guys, and you know these guys, there's always something going on. They're never really in trouble, but there's just always something happening, right? Yeah. And it's never good. So the Lakers have asked LaVar Ball, can you take it back a notch? Can you just chill? Any chance whatsoever that he listens to the Lakers and says, yeah, man, I can cool it off for a little while?
No, it's not happening. And you know what? There's guys like LaVar Ball in my family. I think most families have maybe that one person that just loves to talk. You know, you can hear him from miles away. Someone's jovial, loves to be able to talk. With LaVar Ball, a lot of it is tongue-in-cheek. A lot of it is loud and boisterous. You know, he's a lout. He doesn't mind being in the spotlight. But, you know, for me, he could be whoever he wants to be. I'm just concerned about his kids, all 3 of them. Because with Lonzo Ball, it's not about on the floor. It's about whether or not that his dad's overshadowing what Lonzo could be. Same thing with his other 2 kids is going to play in Lithuania. So for me, Jeff, I know who he is. I've seen guys like that in my family, friends that were just loud just to be heard. I'm just hoping that he doesn't overshadow what their kids could be on the basketball floor.
How'd you like to be Jello, by the way? Hey, I got to meet with you guys. You know how you're going to take road trips to, like, Tucson and Phoenix and Seattle? Yeah, you guys are going to Lithuania now.
Yes.
I bet they were so excited. So, look, LaVar Ball, we all know who he is, what he talks about, what's been going on, right? There's something new all the time. He was talking with our own Coley Harvey about whether or not he might be the Father of the Year candidate. At least Coley was talking about him.
Are you concerned about them wanting you to not be as outspoken?
You know what? That's what y'all saying. But behind closed doors, man, we got a great communication, man. People going to try to twist what I'm saying, what they saying. But it's not going to happen because we're going to get these W's. Here we come.
He's turned his attention to W's now. We're not talking about shoes or Lithuania or getting kids out of jail in China with the help of the President of the United States. It's about W's. It's about W's now.
Yeah, that's all. He's just a guy that's a carnival barker that just says, step right up. The guy that's at the circus, Jeff, that just says, hey, step right up. Yeah, you can win a prize. You can win millions of dollars. That's what he is. He's just trolling everybody. Yeah, listen, when you watch him speak, it's usually with a smile on his face because he knows that he's just trying to he's like full hyperbole, just continues just to want to get that attention. And really, it's not about him. It's about his kids.
Well, Ramona Shelburne, who knows the Lakers and the NBA as well as anybody, senior writer for ESPN.com, she was on Golic and Wingo this morning, and the guys asked her about what is the current status. Like, I wonder if this was like a Facebook status. What would the relationship be like between LaVar Ball and the Lakers?
The Lakers essentially said to him, "Hey, man, you got to tone it down when we're talking about the criticism of the coach and other players. We want you to be able to say whatever you want to say. You're a private citizen. We knew what we were doing when we were drafting you. We knew who you were. The Lakers are one of those teams that are sort of they like the drama, right? It's L.A. In Hollywood, like the worst that you can be is boring. So they're fine with all of it as long as you still play well on the court." But when you say negative stuff about your teammates and the coach, it does create a negative atmosphere. And so what they asked him was just keep it positive. And if you have something negative to say, come to us first before you talk to the media. And last night when I asked LaVar about it, he said, "Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. I mean, don't get it twisted, though. This was a really good thing that they talked to me, and I felt really good about that. And the lines of communication were open, but I'm still going to say what I'm going to say."
When was the last time a professional franchise had to go to some player's dad and go, "Dude, we got to talk"? I don't remember that. Do you?
I don't either. The only similarity would be the Williams sisters, and that's just tennis. That's not even a team. It's a tandem.
But we haven't heard from
girls.
Richard for years and years. Once they became full-fledged adults, we really didn't hear from him all that much.
Well, they kind of X'd him out of their life.
They took care of it themselves.
Well, yeah, because it's smart marketing. It's like, for us to grow, we have to make sure that dad's in the backdrop, and that's actually a good thing. I will not allow LaVar Ball to overshadow what my enjoyment of the NBA. Locally in Chicago, they asked me, "Did you want to talk to LaVar Ball?" I turned the interview down, Jeff.
Because what relevance would he have to basketball in Chicago?
Well, just the idea of just having him on because you know why? Because all he wants to do is argue and push his brand. And I already know the Big Baller brand. We all know what it is, but my focus is not on him. As a matter of fact, it's not even on Lonzo. It's on Kyle Kuzma. He's the better player. He's got his head down, scoring 19 points last night. He just gives you a consistent effort, and Ball's the guy that's sometimes is struggling. So, I mean, for the Lakers, from their standpoint, they could either continue to deal with this or cut out the problem. And the problem would be if the father's overshadowing Lonzo Ball, then Lonzo won't be with the team for the long haul. That's how I see it.
Look, at the end of the day, if this was any other guy, LaVar has his kid, right? And if his son was just a run-of-the-mill NBA top 10 rookie, he'd kind of be quietly finding his way through the league. But instead, because of his dad, people are dissecting every quarter that he plays. Was this a good pass? Should he pass more? How bad is his shot? Is that little hitch in his shot going to affect everything? It's given him no opportunity to just kind of naturally find his place in the NBA.
When you have a boisterous father like that, that's what happens. And it's really unfair for Lonzo in that regard.
I feel bad for the young man. I'll be honest with you. He didn't do anything to ask for this.
What about his other kids? They're not going to be coached by Sarunas Marciulionis. What about them? They're going to be in Lithuania by themselves, pretty much.
Can you extradite
the same team?
Can you extradite a United States citizen from Lithuania to China if things go badly? I'm just curious. I'm asking for a friend. Can we get a legal expert to weigh in on that? We got any lawyers listening right now?
Yes.
Can you do that?
I mean, how's that going to work, Jeff? Really, seriously.
That's what I'm asking. I don't know. Oh, man. So they had this meeting. They've asked him to move on. Next thing you know, he's saying, it's all about the W's. It's just all about the W's.
Okay, great. Well, as long as
he's a team player now.
Well, that's good. But it's unfortunate that he has already criticized Luke Walton, criticized the coaching staff, saying they don't know how to coach my son. That's not about coaching.
Now he can make
That's about ability.
I want to see him courtside next to Jack, wearing nothing but a Luke Walton classic NBA jersey. That'd be good. It'll all be good at that point in time.
I think that we're missing the point here. I think the point is that you have two of your sons in Lithuania. Go up there. That way you're never a story here in the United States. Just stay up there with the other two kids.
He's going to own Lithuania media by the time it's done.
Yes. They won't understand anything you're saying, but you can say whatever you want. I think that would be best for the Lakers, for him to just stay with his other two sons.
All right, you want to get your 2 cents in? You can get in touch with us through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed, and you can do that at ESPN Radio throughout the afternoon. All right, coming up in just a moment now, PG-13 is about to go home, at least his former NBA home. Watch why PG-13 may get R-rated before the night is over. Along with Jonathan Hood, I'm Jeff Rickard, in for Bomani, right here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Paul George, PG-13, makes his return to the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis later on tonight. And there will be people waiting for him there, Jay Hood. And I don't think that they're going to be happy with him.
Hold on a second now. What do you mean by that? There will be people waiting for him?
There's a lot of jilted fans waiting inside the Fieldhouse for PG-13 to suit up for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And see, there were a lot of hurt people in Indianapolis when Paul George originally came out. Like, he was playing, just so give you context, he was playing in a local celebrity charity softball tournament like on Tuesday. And he told all the news cameras, man, I want to figure out a way to stay in Indianapolis. This is my home. This is where I want to play. In so many words. Mm-hmm. He was kind of playing the name game, but that's what he was saying. He was saying what people wanted to hear. Well, it comes out about 48 hours later. I don't know if his agent leaked it. I don't know if he leaked it. That he wanted to go play for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the next thing you know, the Pacers are on the defensive. They think they're going to lose him. They got to make a trade for him. So they decide to trade him for Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis, right? And everybody in the NBA world is thinking, oh, the Pacers, they tried to get 75 cents on the dollar for Paul George. Well, guess who's laughing now? We got Victor Oladipo blowing up for the Pacers, and Paul George, predictably, if you ask me, is fading back into the woodwork for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I ask you this, Jonathan, was he not a reluctant superstar when he played for the Indiana Pacers?
Yes, he was.
So what you going to be? What was going to happen to him when you put him on a team with two guys that have bigger, stronger personalities and, quite frankly, probably bigger game?
There's a number of beta personalities that we could point out. You know, there's alphas and there's betas, and there's, you know, I think that Paul George falls into that beta category as a superstar, but not necessarily a huge superstar. Very definitely big for that market in Indianapolis, that's for sure. But when it comes to Victor Oladipo, though, here's the thing that's surprising to me. Victor Oladipo, a guy that could not get shots with Russell Westbrook, and again, Westbrook is a guy that is an alpha, loves to be able to shoot the basketball, can take the bull by the horns, but Oladipo struggled with playing with Russell Westbrook. Now that he could kind of operate and do what he wants to do, Oladipo has really become a terrific contributor to this Pacers team, to the point where they're one of the biggest surprises to me in the league at 16-11 coming into tonight's game.
Let me ask you a question about all this, because I have read so many articles about how people in Indianapolis should receive Paul George tonight. Hey, he took you to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. Be appreciative of that. Celebrate him for the time he spent in Indianapolis. There are others who are saying, look, it's too fresh. There are going to be people. It's just, sports is a soap opera. We are going to get on the villains. Paul George is now a villain, so to speak. He's on the other team in Indianapolis. My philosophy is, look, as long as you don't throw things or say things that the 13-year-old 2 rows back doesn't need to hear, boo as loudly and as often as you want. That's the fun of being a fan, isn't it?
Absolutely. And those crazy fans in Indianapolis, I know that there's certain sections at Bankers Life, because I've been there before too, that will get after it. They will go after Paul George, and there will be some that will give him the respectful applause, but there's going to be some boos there, because here's a guy that even Patriots fans know that wasn't going to be there for the long haul. He says he was, but everyone's thought that he's going to be a Laker eventually anyway. So even if you're a diehard Pacer fan, you kind of knew in the back of your head that if there was an opening, George would take it.
So it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. So here's the question, Jay Hood.
Yes.
You're the Pacers, the franchise that invested a lot of time and money and effort into Paul George. And now you've got what's looking to be a pretty good deal. Victor Oladipo is finding himself. Sabonis has been terrific in spots when you don't ask him to do too much. And it's looked okay for Indiana, who's playing a lot better now than they did last year. Mm-hmm. If you're the organization, how do you welcome him back? Do you give him a little 30-second player tribute video? Do you give him a special nod over the PA, or do you just ignore him and treat him like any other opponent?
You can't do that now. You can't do that.
I think you have to do that, don't you?
The Pacers are classy. I
know they're classy, so you just don't say anything.
No, you don't do that now.
Because I'm telling you, if there's a video that shows up on that board, the kind-hearted, warm, supporting, welcoming people of traditional Midwest values Indianapolis, they're going to get ugly.
It's going to be a mixture.
They're going to get
It's going to
ugly.
be no. Don't
you.
do that. Don't do that, Jeff. Don't put that out there.
There will be more
Pacers
boos
fans.
if that video shows up than you'll hear like a tiny smattering of applause, and it'll just be overshadowed. I'm telling you, I'm reading the streets there. I've been walking the mean streets of Indianapolis lately.
I know you have.
And I'm reading the streets. I think he'll get booed every time he touches the ball, but I think it'll dissipate as the game goes on.
And there should be a 30-second video for Paul George. It should be. I think that's only right. That's you
so
know
what do
why?
you put on the video? Do
Just
you put big
highlights.
play? Oh wait, I know we could put those game winners that he had. Oh wait, that won't work.
That's always I always said that about the Gatorade
I know we could
commercial.
have a split screen, and on the left side we could show all the game winners that Paul George has a Pacer, and we could show all the game winners that Victor Oladipo has had on the other side of the screen.
I always said about that Gatorade commercial where he's hitting these big shots. I go, he's only hitting big shots in commercials and not in the game. That's false advertising.
Here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, I'm having a little fun. So if you're out there, PG-13 or anybody else, Paul George is a good dude. He's not a bad person. He got into a situation that was a little bit over his head, I think, didn't handle it the best way. He and his agent didn't handle it the best way. He'll still be a great basketball player. He's still, in my opinion, with talent, he's probably still got one of the top 15 talented games in the league, right?
Yes.
Now, does he live up to that potential all the time? Maybe not. But the talent is clearly there. He's going to have a decent NBA career. But when he makes decisions like he just made, he's never going to be an alpha anywhere, but I don't know that he was an alpha to begin with.
That's the whole thing. He was never an alpha personality. He may not, on a good team, maybe he is a number 2 option. Maybe that's the case. And again, he's having a good year. He's at 20-plus points a game. It's just that Oladipo, though, is overshadowing him with almost 25 points a game. As I mentioned, room to operate and really showing what he could do. We saw him at Indiana, but I didn't know he'd be that type of player at an NBA level. Oladipo is proving to me to be the better player than George so far this season.
Well, it's going to be interesting and fascinating to me to watch how this plays out because more so than any other sport in North America, the NBA, it's about dominant personalities. I mean, every one of these guys wants to be the alpha dog. The mold was set when Michael Jordan was doing his thing, right? Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Kobe came along, and he took that mold and made it his own. Everybody else has come along. LeBron has come on, and he's taken that mold, and he's made it his own. Everybody wants to be that next dominant guy. But there's really only 3 or 4 guys that can try to pull that off at any time.
I'm just surprised through 27 games that the Pacers are in this because I thought that with this deal that they'd be around where Charlotte, Chicago, and Atlanta is right now. But they're one of the biggest surprises that I've seen so far this year. I'm really surprised that they're off to this kind of start. But Oladipo, though, is feeling good. I hope that he has his best game against the Thunder. And by the way, this also says a lot about the Thunder as well, the flip side of it. Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George on the floor together. I know sometimes it looks clunky, and they need to be able to figure out what they want to do. But, Jeff, we're seeing here is a huge disconnect between the 3. Russ can't be Russ. Anthony is kind of like this guy that's standing in the corner waiting for threes. And Paul George, he's scoring points, but it's a soft 20. It's not an impactful 20 on a regular basis.
He's Jonathan Hood. I'm Jeff Rickard in for Bomani Jones. It's the right time, and you can get in touch with us to the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. And that's Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, Straight Talk. Coming up in a minute, we'll talk more about the Oklahoma City Thunder. What is the solution there? We'll ask a guy who's with the team every single day as we continue next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
The right time. Hey, did I just see Bomani Jones fly by for a minute there? I might
think
have.
you did.
Yeah,
you did.
He was. We had big meetings at ESPN today.
Oh, big.
Oh yeah,
Huge.
It was good. It was good. They were good meetings. I'm not a big meetings fan, but it was good. It is the right time with Bomani Jones. Bomani off today here on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. And Jonathan, I don't know if you heard, but all of our guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and that is where we find our man Royce Young today. Royce covers the Oklahoma City Thunder at ESPN.com, and they are in Indianapolis tonight. Bankers Life. They'll be taking on the Pacers. And this is the first time back to Indy for Paul George since the offseason trade. So, Royce, we know how things are going from the Indiana perspective. I've been there recently. They're looking forward in lots of different ways to seeing him tonight. How are things going for Paul George right now in Oklahoma City, all things considered?
Not super great, I would say. Is that a fair way to put that? You know, his numbers are kind of down across the board. The team is obviously struggling. I think that right now for Paul George, he to his credit, and you know, he's always kind of been this kind of optimistic sort of guy, but he has not said really a wrong thing yet. You know, he put a little bit of pressure on the team, I think, in the night after their shocking loss to the Hornets at home, where he said, you know, it's got to start getting better. But you know, if there's one guy that has really preached patience and sticking with it and embracing the process of trying to figure this out together, it's been Paul George. So in terms of, you know, buy-in level and where George kind of sees the team and the potential they have, he's as bought in as anybody else. But like so many people within the walls of the organization, they want to see some improvement at some point. And the inconsistency that the team has shown to be able to be the type of team that can blow out the Warriors, to also be the type of team that can get blown out by the Dallas Mavericks is pretty shocking. And certainly right now that's something that George and many of his teammates are trying to figure out.
Well, Royce, can you put your finger on the biggest issues with the Thunder? It's never going to look great out of the box because it's got so many different players and moving parts. But 12-14, can you put in the capsule why it's been such a struggle?
Look, I think there's – I mean, to try to put your finger on one thing, I think if I could do that, then I think Sam Presti would be hiring me as his head coach right now. So I think that, you know, to really center in on the one thing is pretty tough to do. I think the biggest things that stand out is, one, it's quite simply, Russell Westbrook has not played that great this year. And I think some of that has to do with the fit issues. You know, Westbrook has always been the type of player that other players adjust to. He has a very distinct way of playing, very unique way of playing. But in this case, Westbrook is trying to adjust to other players, and that's outside his comfort zone. And I think you've seen it sometimes. His mid-range shots are down. His shooting percentages are down. He's not shooting well from the free throw line, which is very unlike him. And, you know, he's really made it a point to try to be the guy to make this work. And because of that, his own play has suffered. And, you know, if Russell Westbrook had played, let's just say 15% better, 10% better than he has throughout this season, the Thunder – instead of 12-14, they're probably like 16-10, just based on that alone. But there's a lot of other things. I mean, look, Carmelo Anthony and his fit alongside Westbrook and George is complicated, Matt. The Thunder run a low-efficiency offense right now, and they're battling against that. They have low-efficiency players that have played a very distinct way with their certain kind of habits throughout. Billy Donovan is trying to break them of those habits to start running a high-efficiency offense, and that has been very, very challenging. And that's, you know, that's really the reason that, you know, while you have a team with Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, they should not be in the bottom half of the NBA in offense, but that's right where they're at.
Royce Young covers the Oklahoma City Thunder for ESPN.com. He joins us here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So, Royce, let me play devil's advocate. But don't worry about all this stuff. It's not even Christmas yet, and you got all these new pieces and parts, and they just got to figure each other out. How legit is that, or should there be real concern?
I think there has to be real concern. Look, as somebody within the front office told me that they felt like it would take 30 games to really start to figure it out. Look, they're at 26 now. Carmelo Anthony said a couple weeks ago that after 20 games is when it would really start to come together and click. Well, it's been 26 games again. So, you know, I think you can only use that excuse for so long before you really get a good sense of this is kind of flawed. Maybe it doesn't really work that well. And, you know, I do think that there is something there to this team. Like I said, there's a reason that this team was able to click and blow out the Warriors, or they clicked and they absolutely obliterated the Milwaukee Bucks on the road on the second night of a back-to-back. So I think the biggest problem with this Thunder team is that they can play to a 10, and their 10 is just about as good as anybody else in the league. But unlike other teams like the Warriors or the Rockets or the Cavs or the Celtics, you know, the other elite teams in the NBA, they don't play to a 0. The Thunder play to a 0. They can play as bad as anybody in the NBA. Those other teams, their bad night is a 4 or a 5, and that's good enough to beat most teams in the NBA. You can't expect to go out and have it every single night. The shots aren't going to go in. Open shots might not fall, whatever it might be. You can't expect – but the good teams figure out a way to win. And the Thunder, when those shots aren't going in from mid-range or wherever they're coming from, they just suddenly look really bad.
How does Carmelo Anthony look from night to night as far as their offense is concerned?
Uncomfortable is the way I would probably describe it. You know, to Melo's credit, he has certainly over the last 2.5, 3 weeks tried to adjust his game. And really, you know, he's Donovan's asking to change the most, to take away the ball stopping, the isolation stuff, they want Melo to be more of a stretch guy that really focuses on catch and shoot. Now, there's going to be, at points, there's going to be times for isolation. And there's going to be times that they need to look to Melo and mismatch opportunities. Like that's the way they beat the Utah Jazz down the stretch. They ran a play. It got Melo in a mismatch. He isolated kind of from the mid-range, and he was able to take advantage of that, and he scored 8 points in the final 4 minutes. They're going to need that sort of stuff, and that's why the Thunder feel like they can be a really dangerous playoff team is because they have those weapons. But just throughout the grind of the season, Melo, he's tried to make extra passes. He's tried to do different things. But, he's the guy that they're kind of asking to alter his game more than anyone else. And, Melo said just a week and a half ago, he's willing to sacrifice. He's happy to do it. But he did throw a caveat on the end of it. He said, as long as we're winning. And right now, the winning is not very consistent. So you do have to wonder how much longer Melo's going to stay happy.
I want to go back to something you said real quick, Royce. And I know it's probably for different reasons now than it was before. I mean, I know that. But uncomfortable. I love that word uncomfortable when it comes to Melo. Hasn't he been playing like he's uncomfortable for like going on 2 years now?
That's a great point. I mean, here's why I think that it's more uncomfortable is because if you dig into kind of the advanced stats and the metrics and everything else, there is a lot of evidence that Melo is playing differently. Now, I think one thing that's hurting Carmelo Anthony is I think he is showing his age a little bit this season. And, he's not finishing in the restricted area. I think he has one dunk on the year, maybe two. He's not really rebounding the ball in the offensive glass. These were staples of Carmelo Anthony's game for a long time. And, of course, he's going to age. He's going to adjust his game. But, he's not able to score necessarily the way that he always used to. I think the other aspect of this is Russell Westbrook's not an easy player to play alongside with. And I don't say that in a negative sense. I think a lot of people take that and say, oh, that means he's not a great player. Russell Westbrook is absolutely a great basketball player. But in terms of fitting alongside seamlessly, it takes some work. And there's certain type of players that fit better with Westbrook than others. You can see it right now with Victor Oladipo. Oladipo, not a natural fit alongside Westbrook. He moves on. Oladipo is excelling in a different role in Indiana. So I think that's an element of this as well. It can work, and Westbrook can bring the best out of you, but it just might take a little bit of time to figure it out.
Royce, Jeff and I were talking about how Paul George will be received at Baker's Life tonight. How do you think that's going to go? What are your expectations for how Pacers fans feel about Paul George right now?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a heavy amount of that. That's at least what Paul George is expecting himself, and he kind of accepts it, understands it. Although he did say yesterday back in OKC before the team traveled that he kind of couched it. He said, "Hey, I'll be booed. I understand that." And he said, but then he put in, "For whatever reason, I'll be booed." So I think even he kind of wonders, like, should I really be booed? But look, he talked about it this morning after shoot around. He kind of sees it that he did the Pacers a favor by telling them his intentions. They were able to get players like Oladipo and Sabonis. But at the same time, there's always going to be a sense of betrayal when a star player wants to leave a franchise that he helped kind of grow over the last nearly decade. So, fans are going to greet Paul George in the natural way. It's kind of the guttural, instinctual thing for a fan to do. When a former player comes back that left on unseemly terms, they boo him. And I don't think it'll be vicious. I don't think it'll be vitriolic or anything, but Paul George is definitely going to hear it.
Royce, always good to talk to you. Thanks for stopping by.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Royce Young, ESPN.com, covers the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are in Indiana tonight to take on the Pacers.
So on NBA TV's Twitter, the question is the same question we asked, like, how will fans react? Todd Clark says that I'm booing every time he touches the ball. Rob Roof says that I'm just going to laugh every time he touches the ball.
Here's why. Can I tell you why, though, what it really comes down to, all kidding aside? The people of Indianapolis and all of Indiana, that's the basketball state, Jonathan, right? Hoosiers, yep. That's the basketball state.
That's right.
That's the official sport of an entire region and that state. They loved Paul George. They made Paul George one of them. They desperately wanted Paul to be the guy that was with it. You know what they wanted? They wanted Paul to be Reggie Miller, and they thought they'd win championships with him at some point in time. And they felt all of a sudden he just didn't want anything to do with him anymore. That's really what it comes down to. They put all their love and attention into PG-13, and he turned their back on him. That's what it comes down to.
And my thought is, post Reggie Miller, okay, now you care about the Pacers. That was a Hoosiers. That was a Hoosier city. That was about Indiana. Oh, I guess you can't boo them because they're rebuilding.
Goes back to Indianapolis now.
You can't boo the Hoosiers because they're rebuilding. So you're going to just take out your frustrations on Paul George. Give me a break. Now you care about the Pacers. Okay, great. Same Pacers team that struggled at the gate to try to get fans in there. Okay.
Well, yeah. Did you look at the team for a while? I mean, come on.
with Paul George on it, though. That's the
They're
draw,
welcoming people, but they're not dumb.
Wait a minute. With Paul George in it. Paul George is on those teams.
I got news for you. Paul quit on that team before the fans did, and they figured it out. That was the problem.
Yeah.
All right. That's what's going on here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app. You can capture the excitement of Christmas morning with 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order 12 peppermint roses for only $29.99, you'll get an extra half dozen and a vase for free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. In a moment, which is healthier and more likely to clear up, the collarbone or the team? We'll tell you all about it next on ESPN Radio.
That's awesome.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones. Today, it's Jonathan Hood, Jeff Rickard, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Jay Hood, you been on the internet at all today?
I have.
You seen this Chinese daredevil that was trying to get fancy 62 stories above the ground, and it did not work out?
I did not see that.
Newsflash, if you make a mistake, free falling from 62 stories up is not going to end well. The video says, I haven't watched the whole video yet. I've been reading about it, but it says graphic. Chinese daredevil films fall to death from 62-story building. Now, I don't know about how you feel about some of these daredevils, the people that are trying to do stuff for YouTube, or they do crazy things like the guys that climb Everest, that have families and little kids at home. Like, I get that you want to do stuff. I understand. I get the concept of why'd you climb that mountain? Because it was there. I understand that. I do a little bit of that in my own way. But, man, when you got, like, a wife and little kids, it's hard for me sometimes to have too much. It's tragic. But how much sympathy can you feel for people who are just doing stupid things and hoping that everything goes perfectly?
And his ponytail was perfect.
So, hey.
You see his ponytail? I see him up there now. I'm seeing the video right now as we speak. And that, why are these thrill seekers? And by the way, you should never be surprised if there is.
I feel horrible for anybody left behind.
Yeah, but hey. First of all, that's selfish. Is it not the height of selfishness to be able to do that? I mean, and by the way, how much does that pay, Jeff, to be able to do that?
I guess if you get 1 million page views on YouTube, you get that kind of income. But the dude is trying to do like pull-ups on the edge of a 62-story building, and then he's trying to do a handstand, and he missed.
This is where our country is going in the wrong direction. I don't care what news that you watch. Here is where our country is going wrong, where you're just doing it just for the clicks. If there's no payment in him, definitely not doing it.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to watch this thing live. I think I have to take it during the break. I'm not into that. All right, let's move on now to the National Football League.
Oh, my God!
Jonathan! Why are you doing that? Didn't we just have this conversation? Man, talk about your cliffhanger, right? There's a tease right there. Jonathan will not be with us for the rest of the show. Jeff Rickard in for Bomani Jones. It's the wrong time here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. But he did film his demise.
Oh, my God.
So there are so many questions. I don't know if we create these questions, if they're legit questions that we have to ask. Like, for example, should a team tank to get a higher draft pick? Like, to me, deep inside as a competitor, doesn't that go against every grain and fiber in your body? And how do you get an entire team of competitors to just tank?
See, you're asking the wrong guy, because there's no way that I feel like when I get up in the morning, I'm going to lose the day. You know what? It's a great morning. Sun's out. I'm going to lose today. I'm just going to be a complete loser. And so when you're running a franchise, when you're running a business, think about this. And if that was in banking, or if that was in real estate, where you say, I'm going to lose today, that wouldn't work. But in sports, somehow it's welcomed and it's okay. I don't.
All you had to do is be the clown in Philadelphia who didn't do a very good job putting a team together and say, you know what, I'm going to put a team of losers together. There's no way they can win basketball.
I couldn't do it. I just can't. I don't like it. And I know it has been successful going that way. Houston Astros, Chicago Cubs. It's been done. I just don't like doing that way. How about taking care of your business to start with instead of having to retool and reset your ball club?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's just something I just can never get used to, the fact that you are paid to do a job and go do it. Like, I can't even fathom that there is a competitor at the professional athlete in his right mind that's like, yeah, I think I'm just going to drop this ball. Doesn't work for me.
On purpose, and an organization is good with it.
Yeah. All right, we got a lot of NFL to get to. I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Should he come back with that collarbone? We're going to do some of that coming up in a minute, too. And Mike Tomlin, he is excited to play the Patriots, and he wants you to know about it. In for Bomani Jones, Jonathan Hood, Jeff Rickard, ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Want an easy way to see if you could save money on car insurance? Geico gives you 3. Call 1-800-947-AUTO. Go online to geico.com or stop by the Geico office nearest you. 3 ways you could save 15% or more.
Welcome to The Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Hello, and welcome into The Right Time. Along with Jonathan Hood, I'm Jeff Rickard. It's ESPN Radio, and it's presented by Progressive Insurance. I've always liked Mike Tomlin. I love Mike Tomlin this week. You know how, Jonathan, we're always saying we want coaches to just quit speaking to us and coach speak and tell us what's really going on?
Correct.
So Mike Tomlin says, yeah, I'm excited about playing the Patriots. How can you not? Look, if you're in the NFL and you're the Steelers and you're playing for AFC and conference supremacy and probably want to get the inside track on getting to the AFC championship game and maybe onto the Super Bowl, of course you're going to be excited to play the Patriots, aren't you?
Absolutely, because it's the Patriots. They're on the top of the heap, so of course you want to knock them off. Just like Jay Cutler and the Dolphins did on Monday night, you want to be in that position as well, because also the Steelers and the Patriots, they've hooked it up before, and you know Tomlin wants to be able to finally get past the Patriots. I mean, it's a big ordeal for this Steelers team. It's good, but are they on the same plane as the Patriots? That's the question.
Hey, quick side note, and we'll get right back to that. As a guy in Chicago, did you recognize the emotional, fiery Jay Cutler in that game on Monday night?
No, I don't know who that was. I don't even know if that was Jay Cutler.
He looked like he was burning in that game.
Not cigarettes burning, no.
No, the fire inside was burning.
No, I don't know who that guy was, Jeff. I mean, a guy that's so laissez-faire, so cavalier usually. Yeah, we might win the game. Yeah, we might lose the game. Still whatever. I don't care. But now he looked like a competent quarterback. He looked confident there against the Patriots D. So I was surprised.
Well, the Patriots go from Jay Cutler, a fired-up Jay Cutler now, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And first place in the inside track to home field advantage in the AFC is online. And, yes, Steelers coach Mike Tomlin is fired up.
I love it. You know, it's good to be in big games. It's better to be in big games than ones that nobody's watching. You know, we better be appreciative of this spot and not resist it in any way, but embrace it. Because this is what we've been fighting for since March. You know, to be in these type games against these type people, why would you fight that?
To quote Bill Parcells, that's why you lift all them weights in the offseason.
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right. I'm looking forward to it, too. And here's the thing. Like a big prize fight, it's just interesting how Mike Tomlin is hyping his team up through the press, and it makes you even more excited as a fan to watch the game.
Well, I'm looking forward to the game. I know everybody in Pittsburgh, they're always looking forward to the game. I know the Patriots and their fans want to just get off the bad taste that was in their mouth on Monday night. But if you want even more from Mike Tomlin, I got more from Mike Tomlin.
Excited about being in the kitchen, if you will. You know, it's good to be in the kitchen. The kitchen's in Pittsburgh, PA, this week in the National Football League and at Heinz Field. And that's where you want to be in the middle of December. So we don't take it for granted. As competitors, we're excited about it. But as professionals, we know that preparation is going to be required. So we'll spend the rest of this time putting ourselves in great position to perform in the manner in which we desire to.
And all I can imagine is, meanwhile, in Foxborough, you're getting like a lot of really good players, superb quarterback. We got some fantastic receivers, going to give us all kinds of headaches. But, yeah, we're on to Pittsburgh.
I love Tomlin. He's just using all these extra words where he just get right to the point. But I do like him because he's different from most coaches. Most coaches wouldn't tell you anything.
You think Belichick would ever drop that I'm excited to be in the kitchen?
No, there would be no kitchen talk from Bill Belichick. None whatsoever. Now, if you asked him about special teams play in the 1970s, he'd talk all day. And that's the whole thing, Jeff. If you got an interview with Bill Belichick and you wouldn't say anything about, ask him any questions about the Patriots of 2017 and asked him about football in the past,
or philosophy,
he would talk to you all day. Yeah. Did you see him on the Football Life? They couldn't shut him up.
Look, I have friends in the New England area that have covered the Patriots for a long time, and if you can ask a question that catches his imagination, he's as good as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough to do that, though. He's very guarded about this week and this game and the last week and last game. He's not interested in giving you much there. And I think people would know that by now. My favorite, he's gotten to the point where he doesn't even answer some of these questions. He just looks at guys.
Yes.
Or ladies, as the case may be.
See, he would like me because I know what his wheelhouse is, and so I would try to twist those questions into relating a player or a team from the past, and I can get an actual soundbite out of the guy.
Well, that's one big game coming up this week. Here's another one. The Green Bay Packers, they need to win out and get help. They're 7-6 in the NFC, and they got a tough schedule left. They got a couple of divisional games. It is not going to be easy. But there's hope that Aaron Rodgers, who's been cleared to practice again, could play. And I have heard from people around the Packers and saw at least one article yesterday that was suggesting that there are some players in the organization that are, look, they're excited to have Aaron back if he's ready to go. They just want to make sure he's really, really ready to go. So if you're a Packers fan, on the slim chance you can get to the postseason, do you want Aaron Rodgers back coming off, fresh off a broken collarbone?
Yes, absolutely I want him there. And that's no slight on Brett Hundley, who did a nice job as a backup quarterback. It was not Rodgers-esque, but you saw him in a really good rhythm against the Buccaneers and against the Browns. And I think that he's a quarterback on the come. It's amazing that you can lay out a game plan and simplify it and just only take, I don't know. I know it wasn't probably the voluminous playbook that you usually see with the Packers, but they probably took the playbook and said, okay, only do this much of the playbook. Only do this much. And you know what? He was able to maximize his minutes when he's on the field. I like what I saw the last couple of weeks from Hundley. I think he's been pretty good, but Aaron Rodgers, that's a whole different animal right there. If he's on the field, what a difference he could make.
I'll tell you this right now. Lawyer wife is a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers, so I get to watch a lot of Green Bay Packers games, right?
Okay.
With full accompanying spicy audio next to me sometimes. And I will tell you this. I've watched a lot of Packers games over the last few years. I don't ever want to watch a Packers game without Aaron Rodgers.
Understood.
It's a completely different thing. He brings an excitement to the game that other guys just don't bring. Look, Brady, Manning, precision, surgeon-like, right? You just knew what they were going to slice you and dice you and chop you up. Aaron Rodgers is an artiste. He's rolling out to the right. He's throwing back across his body 60 yards downfield. He's completing Hail Mary passes. He's spinning reverse pivots to get away from guys before he makes an on-the-dot out pattern work 15 yards downfield. There's just an element of entertainment with Aaron Rodgers that does not exist with any other player in the NFL.
He's dancing out there when he's in and out of the pocket the way he does, the way he can run. He's just very smart out there. And here's when you know that he's great, Jeff, and you know this as well. It could be with anybody for the most part, almost Brady-like in that regard, in which it's not necessarily star players or all pros. He's trying to run that offense with anybody and still being able to get the job done. That's what you like the most about Rodgers, that no matter who else is out on the field with him, he can still make those players look good and vice versa.
Look, I grew up in Denver, and so I got to watch John Elway. And as I grew up, and one of my first major jobs was being a beat reporter for the Denver Broncos. And Rodgers is like Elway version 2. Like I even have come to think that he might even be a little bit better than Elway because he takes better care of the football than John did. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you this, with those two guys, the parallel is no matter who's on the field, to your point, no matter who's on the field, you just always feel like you're going to win the football game.
Yeah, and that's a great feeling because there's only several quarterbacks in the NFL we could say that about for sure. One is Rodgers, the other one is Brady. The other ones, I don't know if you can say that about Big Ben every Sunday, can you?
Not anymore. I like him. I'd still have him on my team if that's what I could get, but I don't know. Yeah, Cam is kind of an up and down guy these days, right?
See, we don't. Same thing with Drew Brees. There was a time with the New Orleans Saints, though, Jeff, that you thought, man, with that offense, they got to score anybody.
They're going to score 35 every night. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's the case all the time with Drew Brees, as much as I can say that with Rodgers and Brady.
Who else can you think of? Randall Cunningham was like this somewhat for a while too, and that. Just the dynamic of one guy could completely carry your offense by just the crazy things that he would do. Not in the calculated, we're going to run the play better than they run it, but the play's going to break down and anything crazy can happen at any time.
At the quarterback spot?
Yeah. On a sustained basis. Like we saw RG3 in his rookie season do that for like 12 games, right? And then that was it.
For a couple of years, you could say that about Michael Vick, could you not?
Yeah, I think you could. The one year he had in Philadelphia when he didn't turn the ball over. It was unbelievable.
But of course,
in Atlanta, he was. You're right. He was dancing, and who knows what was going to happen.
But of course, with those same quarterbacks, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting a Lombardi trophy, because the best quarterbacks that have that type of connection of, or that combination of running the football and being able to pass it down the field, those are the ones that are usually the most successful.
Usually. Give us your thoughts on the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed at ESPN Radio. You can find Jonathan at TweetHood. You can find me at Rickard on Sports. We're in for Bomani Jones today. It's the right time on ESPN Radio. In a moment, we turn our attention to Major League Baseball. You know, they got the winter meetings going on in places that are far warmer than they are in Bristol, Connecticut right now. I can promise you that. Did the Baltimore Orioles really want to do this year? Did their fans really want this? I'll tell you what this is next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Groovin', Jonathan. Jay Hood, Jeff Rickard in for Bomani Jones. It's the right time. All of our guests today appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and coming up in about 15 minutes, Josina Anderson will be in the house, Jay Hood.
Love Josina Anderson.
She will clearly be the best-dressed person in this trio. There's no question about that. No question about that.
She's always got great information. I'm looking forward to talking to her.
Why is it so popular in Major League Baseball now that unless you are truly, truly one of the 5 or 6 largest markets in baseball, you get a couple good years out of your young stud and then you just trade them off for parts?
I hate that, because in the other sports that we cover, in the NBA and the National Football League, there's always at least one star we can look at per market. In Major League Baseball, maybe not.
I mean, I used to think that there were some guys that would be, if not with one team their entire career, at least they'd be hanging out for the salad years of their career, right? Like, at least in St. Louis, the Cardinals got more than a decade out of Albert Pujols before the price just got too high and the return on the investment was clearly not going to be there. And I understood that. It would have been nice to see Pujols retire as a St. Louis Cardinal, but it just wasn't in the cards, no pun intended. And now you got, it's a disaster. Did you hear Le Batard just completely go off on the Marlins the other day in Derek Jeter?
Absolutely. I have been the last couple of days. And you know what? He's 100% right.
He's 1,000% right. Why should anybody in Miami be a baseball fan for the Marlins? What has that team, what has that franchise done? Except that every time they do get to be successful, every time they do win a World Series, they tear the team apart the next year, and it doesn't seem to matter who owns the team. We used to blame Jeffrey Loria. Now you can blame Derek Jeter. He's the face of the franchise now.
Well, if Rob Manfred really wants to put a stamp on his commissionership, if that's a word, for Major League Baseball, you pull that trade back. Just like David Stern did with Chris Paul a couple of years ago, you stop that trade for baseball reasons. Seriously. And I understand that the Marlins want to be able to pare back payroll again. Stanton did have the no trade, but there's other teams that he could have chosen over the Yankees. The Yankees were good as is, but then having Stanton part of that mix now is going to put him over the top more than likely. But what does that do for Marlins fans? And I know that there baseball fans will say, well, what Marlins fans? It's always empty in that new stadium. Well, you're trying to build something, and Stanton could have been the guy you can build with. And for them to fire the play-by-play guy before Thanksgiving, for them to get rid of payroll, to try to do new things, it's not fair for a team with a new stadium, and then from there, just starting over from scratch. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to lose over 100 games, and somehow they're going to try to build this thing like they have in the past, and then pare back payroll again.
Why not? I mean, that's what we've come to expect.
They've done it twice.
They've done it 3 times.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd time. This is a third complete. Somebody said, I wish I could remember who said this, but no, it was the super agent, Scott Boras, said earlier today that Miami has become a pawn shop. That's all they are, a pawn shop. So now you have the Baltimore Orioles. Who is their brightest young talent over the last 3-4 years? Who is it? Manny Machado. Now they're fielding offers for Manny Machado. Why are you giving your fans? Look, at some point, I never agreed with it, getting back to what we were talking about with tanking for draft picks. It seems to have worked out in large part for the Houston Astros. Sure, they completely throw away 4 seasons, parts of 4, to get all those draft picks. And, they're playing pretty good baseball now. They win a World Series. Fine. It worked out. I get that. I didn't enjoy the process, though. I think the process is just, I'm full of the process. I've had it with the process. It goes against everything you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be about competing and winning.
Absolutely.
And don't give me any of this nonsense about long-term strategies. That's just part of the game. No. You're supposed to win. As a professional athlete, professional organization, you're supposed to win.
Well, I mean, but then there's the other side that says this is the right formula to go, and they can use the Astros and the Cubs as examples.
Great.
And I don't like it.
Call me back in 4 years when you guys are ready, and I'll be a fan again.
All right. Well, when it comes to Manny Machado and the Orioles, you have a couple of ways to look at this. Either you continue to try to build and try in the American League East, or you fire Buck Showalter. See, if you fire Buck Showalter, Jeff, you're in the World Series and maybe winning it, because that's how it works for Buck, see? Usually when he gets fired from someplace, the next year the team is successful. So I think that if you fire Buck Showalter and have Machado on the team, then maybe you can get over the hump, because I think that that's what you need to do. That's the formula. Fire Showalter, win the World Series. It's happened before.
It's
Twice,
happened before, and it's probably happened in many other ways even before us. It's the right time. Brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Baseball meetings are going on down in Florida. Everybody's down at the baseball meetings, which is kind of like, there's wheeling, there's dealing, there are people trying to get jobs. You name it. Have you ever been to a baseball winter meeting?
No.
Dude,
Are you kidding me?
Is like, did you ever see any of the James Bond movies with Pierce Brosnan?
Yes.
Okay, remember, I think it was the second one. He starts off at the very beginning of the show, and he's at the Arms Bazaar somewhere in the mountains of the Ural Mountains in Russia or something like that. You ever see that one?
I have.
That's exactly what it's like at the winter meetings. Sans the parkas. There's no parkas, but everybody's got this guy up for trade, or I want to be a general manager, or how about taking this guy on as an assistant general manager? I mean, even minor league baseball teams, everybody who is under the age of 24 who just got out of broadcasting school that wants to do play-by-play Major League Baseball, they're down there begging for jobs from the minor league baseball team. It's good stuff. It's literally a job market down there.
Well, as far as with the Marlins firing Rich Walls, I think they can probably hire a 22, 23-year-old, because that's how much payroll they have to.
I figure they got 2 prospects back from the Twins for Rich. I didn't know what was going on there.
It's just a mess. I do like the winter meetings from afar, reading about it. I don't want to be in a stuffy hotel.
You should go at least once.
Outside.
You should go at least once. And by the way, if you're going to go there, do it right. You get a hotel room. You might have to pay a little more than you normally would. But do it right for at least 2 days and just live it up, man. Just live it up for 2 days.
Well, I'm going to be a fake scout. If I have to do all that, then I'm going to be a scout. That's what I'm going to do.
There are a lot of fake scouts there, too, believe me.
I'm going to be one of those guys.
There's a lot of everything there.
That way I can get the information. See, that's how I do it. And I'll bring it, and then I can send the information to you.
Yeah. Coming up in just a moment, we're going to talk to Josina Anderson about the National Football League. What do the Eagles do without Carson Wentz? What really is going to happen with number 12 in Green Bay? And so much more. Along with Jonathan Hood, I'm Jeff Rickard, in for Bomani Jones, here on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Right Time with Bomani Jones, along with Jonathan Hood, Jeff Rickard today. I could groove to this for a while, Jay Hood. Just turn into an FM DJ.
Toe tapper.
One of those late night, big, deep voice dudes. That could be you.
Yeah.
ESPN Radio's presented by Progressive Insurance. Shannon. More independent agents sell Progressive Insurance than any other brand. Find an agent at Progressive.com. Now that's Progressive. So another week in the NFL. It's go time. Like, you're running out of time. If you're on the fringe of an NFL team or you want home field advantage like Pittsburgh, New England, this is pretty much it these next 3 weeks, Jay Hood. This is it.
Absolutely, and it's been really interesting as well. I didn't know how the league would progress early, because I wasn't really overly interested. But I think that when I see some of these 7-6 teams, like Kansas City, for instance, how they had a free fall, bounce back, of course. Now at 7-6, the Chargers coming out of nowhere as well. There's some interesting stories that's going to take place. And finally, the Jaguars. I had this bet with Jeff Dickerson when we went way back to the draft, and he took Manziel and I took Bortles. I said Bortles is going to be the much better pro. I win that hands down. 9-4. Here comes Bortles service. Strong
based on 1 year? You're going to make that proclamation based on 1 year?
I'll take Bortles over the guys on TMZ Sports every day. How about that?
this.
So I think that's a great story where they finally have been able to rebound.
Well, they've finally been able to rebound, and let me tell you something. That defense is for real. They are taking no prisoners. That's a really good defense right now. They've got a running game going. They're protecting him, and they put everything in place. It'll be interesting to see how they play now with everything on the line over the next few games, and then you start to get a better sense of whether this guy can take you to the next level or not. Here's a quick thing I learned today about the Steelers against the Patriots. Do you realize in the last 7 games the Sixers are the Patriots are 6-1 in those games, and the Patriots quarterbacks, specifically Tom Brady, 22 touchdowns, no interceptions. And they're 6-1. Who owns that series over the last 5-6 years?
Oh, man.
Huh?
Just football excellence every time you see them on the field. No matter the hiccups that they've had, a couple of them here and there. It's just, to me, they just continue. Despite the Steelers being so good, the Patriots are the best team in the NFL. I could see them right there again at the end.
So here in the NFL, we could see something we've never seen before. We could set a record. When I say we, the royal we for the National Football League, for the most worst to first teams. How about that? The Eagles, they're in, right?
Yes.
Panthers, remember how bad they were a year ago?
Yes.
They could go worst to first in their division. The Jaguars we just talked about. The Chargers now could be the favorite in the AFC West. How about 4 teams that go from worst to first?
The Chargers, wow. Yeah, see, the best part of Chargers football is when they're juxtaposed against 60 Minutes. When you see Phillip Rivers having to go down the length of the field, 2 minutes left, you're down 7. Can you do it? Go. And more times than not, it's an interception, and then right to 60 minutes.
Well,
but
now,
they've been
to be fair to
this
him,
year.
though, the defense, I mean, I think that San Diego Chargers team over the last 2 seasons, they've set the record in the NFL for the most creative and varied ways to lose football games at the end.
That's right.
Like, talk about snake bit. It's been going on for like 2.5, 3 seasons.
Right.
You just know they're going to lose at the end of a football game.
It's the most entertaining part of my NFL more times than not.
How can you hate on the San Diego Chargers?
It's just funny.
How can you hate on Charger Blue, on Powder Blue?
It really is kind of like watching a movie, like a B movie on Lifetime, where you're just trying to figure out what's going to happen at the end. What's going to happen at the end? Will Phillip Rivers be able to tie or win this game or not? And usually it's just a 4th down and 10, and he's got to go the length of the field. It's just not happening. But the Chargers have turned things around a big way with 4 wins in a row now. It's 7-6 in the mix in the AFC West. It's fun.
No, it's outstanding stuff. Here's another question for you, again, since you're in Chicago today, but I think it's topic of the day. It's worth talking about. And I honestly, this came out of Chicago, and I can't believe it. Somebody is asking the question whether or not Devin Hester is a Hall of Famer. And my first reaction was, are you kidding me? Who says Devin Hester is not a Hall of Famer?
That's a real question.
I want a piece of that person.
The audience is divided on that.
Why? Have they not been paying attention?
All I know is that it's one of the best, if not the best, I've ever seen at that position. And I know that he did not fare well as
Are they judging him as a wideout and a defensive back?
Well, they shouldn't, because if you
That's
do
not
that,
who he was.
yeah, you're going to win that argument on that side of the ledger. But no, it's Devin Hester is the best I've seen at that position. That guy is a Hall of Famer in that special teams, in special teams.
I'm just going to drop one piece of knowledge on you when it comes to Devin Hester. The player who has scored more non-offensive touchdowns in the history of the National Football League is not Deion Sanders. It is Devin Hester, who could single-handedly, you saw this in Chicago, he could single-handedly win football games by himself for a guy who didn't even touch the ball on offense.
He is a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. I don't know how soon he gets in, Jeff, but he will get in.
20 touchdown. Not playing wide receiver. Not playing running back. Devin Hester scored 20 non-offensive touchdowns.
The only time that he was messed up is when they tried to play him under Lovie Smith as a wide receiver, and he was even a worse secondary player. But as far as special teams,
you had to try that, though. The guy was so good with the ball in his hands, you had to see if it would work, didn't you?
Yeah, and it didn't. I just remember several plays in which Muhsin Muhammad had to line him up, like literally take him by the shoulders and go, "No, you're a slot receiver here."
Yeah, the lineup part I didn't really get. Like I get if you maybe never really developed the knack for running sharp routes or whatever.
Right.
Like I understand if you don't become Jerry Rice running routes. I understand that. Lining up incorrectly is a little beyond me.
That was Devin Hester, though. There was actually Muhammad getting out of his place, moving over and saying, no.
Now, is that something that only happened once or twice and it became a legend, or this was an ongoing problem?
No, this happened several times during games one season. It was fun. to see Devin Hester like a little leaguer, just like a little pony leaguer. Like, no, you need to be here. Oh, here. I see. Man. So that was a problem. I do have you mentioned the Patriots earlier. How about you and I start a rumor?
Oh,
you ready?
Like that's never happened before.
No, we're going to start a rumor here on the right time. How about this? What if I threw out there to you that Bill Belichick, as great as he is as a head coach, is going to tie his wagon, it will continue to tie his wagon to Tom Brady, because you see what Brady's being able to bring to the table as a quarterback. It's a great quarterback coach combination. You think Bill Belichick definitely wants to stay in New England, or would he be interested in Shannon's Giants? I mean, the job is available, you know. Could you imagine if Belichick went home to the Giants?
I think Belichick is home.
Oh, his other home.
No, he's home now.
What if Bill Parcells says...
There's an entire army, a contingency in the northeastern part of the United States right now that is coming for you. All tweets at TweetHood.
What about that? What would you say about that?
You're on your own with that one. I love you. I love you, and 99 times out of 100, I've got your back. That one's not happening.
What about that? But for Shannon, though, he would be so happy to see his Giants.
Shannon! Shannon! What's going on with the New York football Giants and Bill Belichick? Could you even conceive of that?
I don't want to get my hopes up that high. So Jonathan, I'm not even going to go there with you.
Wouldn't that be something?
Ben McAdoo's available.
Yes, he is. And his hair gel. They're both available if you want it, if you care for it. But I wonder whether or not would Belichick stay with the Patriots for like after Brady, or would he retire with Brady?
See, here's the whole thing.
What would you think?
I've talked about this with a lot of Patriots fans. If you're Bill Belichick, don't you kind of want, after Brady's gone, don't you kind of want to see who you are without Tom Brady? And I'm pretty sure he's not worried about. Look, there's no crisis of confidence with Bill Belichick. The man's proven everything you need to prove as a head coach. But don't you think you'd at least want to see what you could do with a different guy at quarterback?
And then he wakes up in the morning and he sees the reflection of Phil Jackson on the other side.
No, he wakes up and he goes, I didn't mean Trevor Siemian.
No, wait a minute now. Now you're going to give him a team. I think that would be interesting. But if you are Belichick, you've done it all. You've got all these championships. You could stay with the Patriots post it. But here's the thing. Garoppolo's gone now. That would have been the heir apparent. That would have been the test to see how he would do it, Garoppolo. But now he's not there. Even Brissett's not there. So maybe not. Maybe retirement is in the future for Belichick after Brady.
Maybe that's his best option. All right, coming up in a minute. Write the number down. You already know it. It's 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. I'm just curious. Do you think Bill Belichick could win with any quarterback, or is there something special about the Brady-Belichick combo that just is never going to be repeated by either guy? Like, obviously, Brady is coming down towards the stretch, but I want to get a sense of what people think of Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. Talk about that. A little more NFL, and also Shohei Ohtani. Is his injury a big concern for the Angels? Injury? What injury? That's next on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Jay Hood, who knew you could scratch like that, man?
I'm scratching all the time. I think it's my lotion.
I like it. Talking about the National Football League. We'll get back to some baseball in a minute. We got Josina Anderson on the line from ESPN. Joining us here on the Right Time with Bomani Jones, Jonathan Hood, Jeff Rickard in today. Hello, Josina. How are you?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing fantastic. Lots of great meetings. All kinds of things going on today.
Oh, yes. Craziness.
Oh, my goodness. So here's the one question. Do we know anything more today? And I know it's not your particular beat, but just in general, do we know anything more about the status of Aaron Rodgers today than we did yesterday?
Well, I mean, we know he made the announcement that he's medically cleared. I mean, I know that the Panthers are fully expecting him to play. That's the expectation, that he is, going to do that unless he suffers some type of setback. But obviously, this was the first week that he was eligible to be able to come back, and Brett Hundley's done a nice job holding down the fort, going 3-4 in the times that he was starting. To keep this team right now at 7-6. And I know I talked to Mike Adams, who's the starting safety last night for the Panthers, And he basically was like, woman, why are you calling me? He was like, this ain't no news to us. He's like, why are you bothering me out of my sleep? We knew he was coming back. As long as they were going to be eligible to make the playoffs, this is what we expect. But, guys, the Panthers are confident. I think that they are 2-1 against Green Bay in the Ron Rivera era when they're facing Aaron Rodgers. And they beat him the last time they won, they played in 2015. I think it was like 37-29. They sacked him 5 times, blitzed him 24 times. They just came off of sacking Case Keenum 6 times. So the defense is feeling pretty good right now. Nobody sounded shook because Aaron Rodgers was coming back. You know what I mean?
Josina, we saw the story on ESPN.com. Jerry Jones had input in compensation committee not increasing the percentage of Roger Goodell's contract. At this point in time with a new deal, is Goodell and Jones good? Are they good?
I don't think so, because there's this guy named Ezekiel Elliott that's missing 6 games that he didn't feel like should have happened in the first place. I'm not sure that Jerry's ever going to get over that. Maybe the only thing that could help to assuage that is if Ezekiel comes back skinnier like he's been telling everyone that he's going to be next week, and they get to the playoffs and either go further than they've gone in a long time or win the Super Bowl. But that relationship has been pretty contentious. Obviously, he's been the most vocal leader trying to either inhibit him from getting the extension or putting it in some sort of moratorium, situation right now where it could be reevaluated even though it's been agreed upon, which is unfortunate because, you don't want to see this kind of not all on the same page right now. There are a variety of factors that people have been pointing to that have contributed to what people feel like is the downturn of the NFL this year. You mentioned the meetings, right? People talking about the NBA is up 24%. And so that's kind of an unfamiliar spot for the league and things like that. But just going back to your question, I think it's going to be contentious for a little bit, but I don't think he's going to be successful in whatever he's trying to do with some sort of secondary evaluation of the terms on the back end. You know what I mean?
Do I get the sense anymore, though, kind of reading between the lines there and just everything else I've heard, I'm not so sure that Roger Goodell or Jerry Jones really care if they're good friends moving forward. Do they?
No, I mean, but listen, Jerry is such a affable, personable guy. And at some point, reality is going to hit you that you're not going to be able to recoup these 6 games. And whereas it might have affected seeding and your path in the playoffs, the bottom line for them is to get into the playoffs. And if they're successful and more successful than they've been in a while, and ultimately winning, like I said, the Super Bowl, I think that could go a long way to them. Not maybe bro hugging it out, but maybe dapping it up the next time they see each other,
Josina, tell us a little bit about what happened on Monday night with the Miami Dolphins defeating the New England Patriots. Is there anything that you think that the Steelers can look at and say, we found some chinks in the armor a little bit with this Patriots team, because they're great, but we heard from Mike Tomlin earlier, he's pumped for this game.
Well, I think maybe if Gronk would have played, you might have felt a little bit better about that. But with how, I guess integrated he is into making that offense move, or at least detracting the attention away from the defense, it's a little bit different. But at the same time, the Steelers, right where they are at this time of the year when it's cold and they start kind of picking things up. And I don't know. I think that given that the game is in Pittsburgh, and the synergy that they have and kind of everything that was really kind of off track for the Patriots offense, even though Gronk will be back, I still like the Steelers at home.
Yeah. Hey, Josina, always
good
to
talk to you. I still like the Steelers at home.
I don't blame you. I like them too. All right. Get back to it, man. We'll talk to you later. Enjoy those chips, man. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Oh, could you hear me eating the barbecue? I was really trying to
it was barely noticeable.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
I'm so sorry.
Barbecue.
I'm
That's
sorry,
off the
guys.
chain.
I'm hungry.
You're the best. Got to
Bye,
run. We'll talk
guys.
to you soon. Oh, my goodness. Josina Anderson joining us here from the ESPN cafeteria. Coming up in a minute.
Wow.
More with the Bomani Jones Show, The Right Time.
Thanks for listening to The Right Time podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.